So you're ready to get started on making your dome lid pinch pot. Your finished product is going to look something similar to this. You might not choose to turn it into a little creature, but the lid is going to be rounded and the lid will come off. Your lid could come off at the top, in the middle, or close to the bottom, depending on what you are planning on doing for your design. So in order to get to there, what you have to do, you're going to make your initial pinch pot, and you're going to make 2 pinch pots. After you make one, you make the other one, and you want to make 2 pinch pots that are going to fit together, similar to this. So once you get them made, what you're going to do is you bag them up and you store them in a closed bag overnight so that you let them sit up. These have set up. They're not completely plastic. They're not exactly leather hard either. They're stiff enough, though, that if I flip this over, it's not going to cave in on itself, which is what we want. So at this point, what you're going to do, this pot is going to go on the inside of this one. This pot's going to go on the outside. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pinch this one in. So I'm going to take and pinch the rim of this. You can pinch it thin. It's okay, because they're going to be overlapping. So I'm pinching the rim of this thin, and I'm pinching it in. Okay, so I had it already kind of started, but that's what you do. You take the rim, you pinch it in. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one, I'm going to pinch the rim out. If your pinch pots do not fit together, call Mrs. Warner or I over. We can usually help to put them back together. So ask for assistance if you need some clay surgery. Okay, then what we're going to do, you're going to, if this one is flared out, I'm going to score the inside. So this one's flared out. It looks kind of like a flower that's opening up on the top there. So I'm going to score around the inside of this one. And I'm also going to slip it. Okay, then I'm going to set this off to the side. Then I'm going to take the one, this one is flared in. So if it's flared in, I'm going to score the outside of this one. Putting them together is kind of a little bit of a messy process, and it takes a little bit of finagling, so don't get frustrated. Stick with it. Then I'm going to slip here. Remember, you only have to score and slip where you're going to be joining 2 pieces of clay together. Now, the act of putting these 2 pinch pots together makes this basically like a big air bubble. So you have to cut it and make a lid, or you have to put some type of negative space in here. Otherwise, it'll explode in the kiln. Okay, so once I have those both scored and slipped, I'm going to take the 2 pieces. I'm going to put the one that goes on top of it around it, like this. And then we're going to start with the paddle and the ribbing process. So you can take your paddle. You can kind of tap this on the table too to get it to attach a little bit. That's a good way to start, or you can kind of gently tap it with your hands. You can start to smush it, or you can use your rib. If you remember from the demonstration that we saw before on how to smooth out the flat lid pot, you can take your rib and kind of start to connect it. You might want to take out some of the clay in this instance. You can see that it's ribbing it up, but you can also see how if you look here, it's thicker here, thinner here. So if it tears some of that clay away, it's not a big deal. So what this is doing on the inside, you have one that's flared out like this and one that's flared in. So when you put these together, what you're essentially doing is they usually hit right here, and on the outside we're going to take and fold it over like that. You can't do this though if your clay is too soft, so you have to let it sit up a little bit. So once I've ribbed that together some, I'm going to go around and paddle it. And you can see that it's kind of getting rid of that rim, but it's also changing the shape of my dome lid pot. Okay, so once I get to this point here, I've paddled this. You might want to go back, and if there's gunk on there, you can scrape it off on the slip container and just continue to kind of paddle it, rib it, get it smooth. You can change the shape of this some, but I don't want you to try and make this into like a square shape, okay, like a box. We're going to be making boxes later, and what happens whenever you try and paddle this into a square shape is your corners get thick and they explode in the kiln. Or if they don't explode, it just doesn't work out so great. Okay, so don't make it into a square shape. So just keep working on getting this as smooth as you want it to be. Remember, these don't have to be smooth. If you're making some kind of a creature where you have like a texture for the skin, maybe you want to leave it rough. It's up to you. But just keep paddling and ribbing it to get it smooth, or add that texture in at this point if you're making a creature. Okay? If it's kind of weebling, wobbling around, you can kind of gently tap it to get it to sit still. You can use a banding wheel at this point too. Be careful though when you're doing this that you don't overwork your clay. If you're noticing that when you're paddling it, it's starting to crack, that's a good sign that you're either paddling too hard or that your clay is drying out. Okay, so if you're noticing that it's not working out, you're getting some cracks, you definitely don't want to poke a hole in it, because if you poke a hole in it, what we have to do is we have to cut it, and you just have to have a flat lid pot. Okay, so if you're noticing that maybe it's too soft and it's caving down in, you might want to wait till the next class period, bag it up, let it set up for a little bit, and then try it again the next day.